morning, Victor.
So, Maria, I've heard you talk about this in the past, though I'm going to start with Alice on this question of the intelligence briefings. Where do you stand on that? Do you think that they should be held back from former President Trump?
I believe the former President Trump should be given the same privilege that former presidents receive with access to these briefings if they request them. And former presidents have had the same opportunity to do so. If he doesn't request them, it's certainly not an issue. But hearing what the President Biden just said is rather disturbing because it's we're starting to see a trend. And this punitive action and punitive behavior that Democrats are taking against Republicans they don't like is going to be problematic. And they're starting to set a trend or set a precedent that will be quite harmful just because someone rubs you the wrong way. I think that's a really dangerous road for Democrats to start taking.
Rubs you the wrong way, Maria. Go ahead.
I think it's a little bit more than that. Look, President Biden is absolutely correct. Donald Trump was an existential threat. That's why you had more than 82 million Americans voting for him for president, the most of any candidate ever in terms of presidential votes. Look, I don't think there is any need for Donald Trump to get any kind of intel briefings in the future. Like you mentioned, Victor, he never was intellectually curious really about anything that was going on in the world. And while President Biden doesn't want to speculate, I will be glad to speculate. We already had, when Trump was in the White House, him sharing intel briefings with the Russians. Let's not forget that. And look, we've heard reports that the former president owes more than 400 million or will owe soon more than 400 million in debts. Who's to say if he had any kind of real important intel that he wouldn't sell it to the highest bidder? I'm sorry, but I don't think he's beyond that. So let's not put ourselves as a country in that kind of situation. When you have former presidents, including Republicans, intel chiefs say that they don't believe that Donald Trump should receive intel briefings, that's something that we should take into consideration for sure.
Alice, you wrote for an opinion piece for CNN.com, specifically on Marjorie Taylor Greene, that Republicans facing a divided party in the post-Trump era confronted a major test and they flinched. Was this a flinch or was this a realignment?
Some ways it might have been a cave, actually, because I truly believe the comments that Marjorie Taylor Greene said with regard to the conspiracy theories and the school shootings and the wildfires in California, and most damaging, questioning the integrity of the election and spreading false claims about voter fraud. I think those are extremely problematic. And these were not comments that she only said before she was elected into Congress, and she continued to say them after a member of Congress. And I think, look, what she said before is between she and the voters of North Georgia. What she said after is subject to the scrutiny of her colleagues. I wish that Republicans had stepped up to the plate first and held her accountable and stripped her of her committee assignments and reminded her that she needs to change her stripes as a member of Congress, and there are certain actions and activities and words that are acceptable. They didn't do that, so the Democrats were forced to do that for them. And look, I hope that she understands that her language and her demeanor needs to be a little bit different now, and I hope this is a learning tool, but time will tell. And I hope that this is a sign that some Republicans, fortunately, there were some Republicans that voted to take action, but the majority of them did not, and that's kind of disturbing.
Alice, that sounds a lot like Susan Collins, the learned his lesson, learned her lesson theory. Let me ask you about something that Congresswoman Taylor Greene said, was that this is now Trump's party. Is it?
No, it's not Trump's party. There are obviously 74 million Americans came out and voted for President Trump. Many of them still support him. But what we have now is a Republican Party that needs to get back to the foundation of the party: limited government, fiscal responsibility, law and order, religious liberties, and keep those people together, and also keep in members of Trump's base and have a united Republican Party. But it needs to be more about the policies of the Republican Party, not the cult of personalities, which is what we had in Donald Trump.
And that's what we heard from Senator Ben Sasse as well. Same question to you, Maria. Is this Trump's party? Also, I mean, by stripping the Congresswoman of her committee assignments, have you not empowered, emboldened a freshman congresswoman who was in the minority by giving her a larger platform?
No, I don't think so. She was going to be emboldened no matter what. And I think it was absolutely appropriate to hold her to account. If the Republicans did not have the backbone and the wherewithal to do it, which clearly they did not, then Democrats were going to do it. And look, it is important for Americans to understand that you have to be held to a higher standard when you are voted in to represent any number of people, especially in the sacred, hallowed halls of Congress. And to answer the question that you put to my Hot Mike's co-host, Alice Stewart, yes, this is the Trump Republican Party. It's the Trumplican Party. And until people like Kevin McCarthy, no less than the Republican minority leader in Congress, can keep themselves from traveling to Mar-a-Lago to kiss Trump's ring, it will absolutely continue to be the Trump Republican Party. And until, again, Republicans say no more, there is going to be a huge divide. And I don't think they're going to have a possibility of becoming the majority party until they define themselves as real traditional Republicans once again.